I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, Israel celebrates her 69th Independence Day. The Palestinian President meets with U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House, and we'll reveal the 9 Israelis who have been chosen to receive the most prestigious prize in Israel. Stay tuned for the latest news in Israel. We begin with the biggest news of this week. Happy birthday, Israel. Yesterday marked Israel's 69th Independence Day, and let's just say Israelis know how to celebrate. Let's take a look at what was happening in the Holy Land for this special holiday. Now, let me tell you guys, the streets of Tel Aviv were absolutely packed on Independence Day. If you were looking at our website, we were actually posting some live videos. So if you're planning on coming on vacation to Israel, I would say the time of the year to come is on Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israeli Independence Day. All right, well, Israel is still reeling from the excitement of its 69th Independence Day. It looks like despair is growing in the Palestinian territories, where locals are voicing hopelessness over today's meeting between Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and U.S. President Donald Trump. Today, President Trump will be hosting the Palestinian leader in the White House to discuss the future of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. While Abbas seems to think the talk could signal a new beginning, his own people aren't so sure.
بصيرش حل بنتأمل من الله يصير حل ويلطف بينا ربنا بس مش العبد. أمريكا عمرها ما بتصير تعمل حل معانا. أما إن ترامب هذا حاكى إسرائيل وضغط عليها ممكن سنة 48 ما عمرنا ما حنشوفها 67 يمكن نشوف.
الرئيس عباس لديه نقاط قوة تبدأ بأن القضية الفلسطينية عادلة ومتفوقة أخلاقيا، وأن الشعب الفلسطيني مستعد للصمود والكفاح من أجل تحقيق أهدافه وحقوقه. ولكن نقطة الضعف الكبيرة جدا أن هناك الانقسام الفلسطيني مستمر، وتفاقمت أوضاعه بالأيام الأخيرة مما سيجعل الرئيس في موقف ضعيف. كيف يمكن أن يتصرف؟ أعتقد أنه سيرفض الأسس والمبادئ التي يحاول ترامب أن يفرضها، ولكن يمكن أن يقبل استئناف المفاوضات على أمل أن هذا يمكن أن يسبب بعض المشاكل بين الإدارة الأمريكية والحكومة الإسرائيلية التي ترفض أي نوع من أنواع تجميد الاستيطان.
The Palestinian president is blaming the recent lack of dialogue between the Israelis and Palestinians on the Israeli government and its lack of a so-called political vision. But his party's rival faction, the Hamas terror group, says that the leader needs to start focusing on issues of internal political division before tackling the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
رئيس أبو مازن يجب أن يتجه في عمله الفلسطيني إلى استعادة الوحدة الوطنية، إنهاء الانقسام، الاستقواء بكل أوراق القوة داخل الساحة الفلسطينية، لأنه لا يمكن أن يكون رئيس شعب يواجه خصومه أو يتعامل مع العالم الخارجي وهو لا يمتلك أوراق القوة من داخل شعبه.
The meeting will mark the first time that U.S. President Donald Trump is hosting the Palestinian leader since coming into office. In February, Trump held his first ever meeting with a foreign leader when he hosted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the White House. U.S. Press Secretary Sean Spicer says the president's ultimate goal is to establish peace in the region. The American leader has urged Israel to hold back on settlement building in the West Bank, but has also vowed to move the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem, a move that would spark major Palestinian fury. Now, will the United States actually move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem? There may be more of an answer now to this big question. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence is speaking out. Pence has taken Israeli Independence Day as an opportunity to show the USA's support for the state of Israel.
So let me say with confidence to all who are gathered here, President Trump stands without apology for Israel, and he always will.
That support apparently comes with fulfilling President Donald Trump's most controversial campaign vow.
And the President of the United States, as we speak, is giving serious consideration to moving the American embassy in Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
But Vice President Pence says moving the embassy does not mean that the U.S. president is shying away from tackling the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
And to be clear, the President is also personally committed to resolving the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. Even now, we're making valuable progress toward the noble goal of peace. Thanks to the President's tireless leadership, momentum is building and goodwill is growing. And that while there will undoubtedly have to be compromises, you can rest assured, President Donald Trump will never compromise the safety and security of the Jewish state of Israel, not now, not ever.
Israelis are anxiously waiting to hear what comes out of today's meeting between the U.S. leader and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, who will be visiting the White House for the first time since Trump has taken office. Lawmakers in Israel are outraged by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization for passing a resolution which claims that Israel has no legal or historical claims anywhere in Jerusalem. The vote took place on Israel's Independence Day and passed with 22 countries in favor, 10 opposed, and 23 abstaining. The document is apparently aiming to safeguard the cultural heritage of Palestine by reaffirming that all legal and administrative decisions made by Israel regarding Jerusalem are so-called void. Israeli officials from across a political spectrum are now blasting UNESCO and its resolution as both anti-Semitic and anti-Israel.
And UNESCO said a year ago that we have no connection to the Temple Mount. This year, they didn't say that. That's an improvement in the march of absurdity. They also said that Judaism, too, has some connection to Jerusalem. Well, we're making progress. But there's still a way to go. And the way we have to go is, in fact, to cut out this nonsense.
The Israeli Prime Minister is now vowing to make sure that UNESCO does not carry out any more votes on Israel.
There are more countries today that are abstaining or supporting Israel than there are those opposing Israel. But my goal is to have no votes in UNESCO on Israel.
Israel regards Jerusalem as its indivisible capital, including its predominantly Arab eastern side. The Temple Mount in Jerusalem, which includes the Western Wall, is the site of two biblical Jewish temples and is considered the most sacred site in Judaism. Yet that very site is also home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest place in Islam, and has been a flashpoint of violence in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Israel therefore bars Jewish prayer at the holy site as part of a long-standing arrangement to avoid security concerns and adhere to religious and political sensitivities. The Israeli ambassador to UNESCO says that the organization shouldn't be involved in the matter at all.
There is no need that UNESCO will be involved in any political issue. The place for political issues and for conflicts is in the UN in New York. And the Arab group and the Palestinians should go to there and leave UNESCO to deal with its mandate. Its mandate is about other stories, just positive one. And we offered more than one time to the Palestinians and to other neighbors of us. Let's do some positive projects together. Let's do something that can build trust, a minimum of trust. But unfortunately, there is no answer from the other side.
Hamas officials are creating a lot of fanfare over the releasing of a revised policy statement that supports the establishment of a transitional Palestinian state along the 1967 lines and, most shockingly, drops the terror organization's long-standing call for Israel's destruction. The document was presented in Doha by Hamas leader Khaled Mashal as rulers of the Palestinian faction in Gaza watched the announcement on TV. Even though the hardline Islamist group claims that it somewhat softened its stance on Israel, Mashal says that Hamas continues to reject Israel's very right to exist and is committed to an armed struggle against the Jewish nation.
لا تنازل عن أي جزء من أرض فلسطين.
We shall not waive an inch of the Palestinian home soil, no matter what the recent pressures are and no matter how long the occupation. Hamas rejects any idea except liberating the home soil entirely and completely, although it does not necessarily mean we recognize the Zionist entity or give up any of our Palestinian rights. Hamas considers the establishment of a Palestinian state sovereign and complete on the basis of the June 4th, 1967, with Jerusalem as its capital, and the provision for all the refugees to return to their homeland is an agreeable form that has won the consensus among the movement members.
The statement also includes claims that Hamas will end its association with the Muslim Brotherhood. This move is apparently aimed at improving ties with Gulf Arab states and Egypt, which view the Brotherhood as a terrorist group. Publication of the policy document comes just ahead of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas's visit to Washington tomorrow. Both Israel and even the Palestinian Authority have been quick to react to the new Hamas charter with anger. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's spokesman issued an immediate statement accusing the terror group of trying to delude the world by purporting to ease its hardline doctrines.
This Hamas document is the latest attempt to fool the world, and it's not the first time that terrorists and dictators have tried to fool the world. Stalin said that he believed in fraternity of all peoples. Hitler called peace his most treasured desire, and Ayatollah Khomeini spoke about equality between men and women. I've just come from an event with Israeli victims of terror, mothers and fathers and sons and daughters whose lives have been destroyed by Hamas. I saw people whose faces were burned off because of acts of terror.
It also remains unclear whether the revised document is intended to replace the 1988 Hamas charter, which calls for Israel's destruction.
Hamas's motivation clearly is to alleviate some of the international pressure against it. And what they're trying to do is basically fool the world, to say we're not as bad as you think we are. But when you look at what they tell their own people in Arabic, on Al-Aqsa TV, on Hamas's TV stations, in their mosques, in their schools, they're calling on a daily basis to destroy Israel. They're calling on a daily basis for genocide of all Jews. And this attempt to fool the world isn't going to work because it's so abundantly clear that they continue to desire the ultimate destruction of Israel.
The ruling West Bank Fatah faction is also upbraiding its Islamist rivals for now accepting a future Palestinian state within the 1967 lines that Fatah agreed to back in 1988. A Ramallah spokesman is now demanding Hamas apologize for having accused Fatah of committing treason over that same policy for nearly 30 years. Elo Azaria, the IDF sergeant who was convicted of manslaughter in January, is finally appealing his sentence today. ILTV's Aaron Porras joins me with more on this story. Aaron, thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Yeah, Azaria was sentenced to 18 months in prison, a demotion to private, and a suspended term of enlistment, all for having fatally shot a disarmed and neutralized Palestinian terrorist late last year. The Azaria defense team is looking to have the case thrown out, but the prosecutors are looking to increase it. His defense is also looking to submit new evidence of at least 15 other cases where soldiers fatally shot or wounded a Palestinian attacker and were not tried for their crimes. So
let's check out your report.
The prosecution, on the other hand, believes the sentence is too lenient and is thus looking to increase it to anywhere from 30 months to 5 years. Since Azaria's case is held in military courts, his options for who can issue his pardon are limited to Lieutenant General Gadi Eisenkot and President Reuven Rivlin. Eisenkot, who is the IDF Chief of Staff, has already criticized Azaria's actions, saying they go against the IDF's rules of engagement. So in a plea to the president, Azaria's father issued a direct letter to Rivlin saying that the army of the people shouldn't go against the people. Rivlin's office said it wouldn't respond until all other legal options were exhausted.
Every Independence Day, the latest figures on Israel's population are released, so here they are. The total number of citizens living in the country is now 8.68 million, which is more than 10 times higher than when the state was founded in 1948. Just about 6.5 million of Israelis are Jewish, which is about a 75% majority. A little more than 1.8 million are Arab. That number reflects 20.8% and includes both Muslims and Christians. The remaining 4.5% of 388,000 people are either non-Arab Christians, members of other faiths, or not religious at all. Overall, the country now has 159,000 new citizens since last Independence Day, meaning there's been a 1.9% increase. So I guess it's time to say congratulations to the 174,000 babies who were born and the 30,000 new immigrants joining us here in Israel. If you want to get a real taste of Israel without having to travel all the way to the Holy Land, there is now a way. Just head to the Israeli restaurant Za'av, which means gold in Hebrew, based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where its Israeli-American chef has just struck gold by winning the top U.S. chef prize. Chef Michael Solomonov just received the top honor from the James Beard Foundation on Monday. Solomonov was born in Israel but actually grew up in Pittsburgh. The 38-year-old started focusing on Israeli cooking after his younger brother David was tragically killed on Yom Kippur in 2003 while serving in the Israeli military. It turns out this isn't the first time Solomonov has been honored. Last year, his cooking book, Za'av, A World of Israeli Cooking, took both the Book of the Year and the International Book Award at the James Beard Awards. He's even starring in a new documentary about Israeli, Jewish, and Arab cuisine that was released in March. So here's the bottom line. If you want to get to know Israel through its food, it might be time to head to Pittsburgh. Chef Solomonov will be waiting. Sometimes, if you have to go under the knife, the surgeon may opt for a minimally invasive surgery. The only problem is that complications can easily occur in the aftermath. Well, one Israeli company has created a way to make the finishing touches to any surgery a total success. Joining me in the studio now is Donnie Meyerfeld, the marketing director of Gordian Surgical, to tell us more.
Thank you,
so
Natasha,
much for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's begin. What exactly does it mean when you hear minimally invasive surgery?
So minimally invasive surgery is when a surgeon makes small cuts and incisions into the body and to insert a camera or surgical instruments during the procedure, like a gallbladder or intestinal surgery, urological surgery, or gynecological surgery.
So the point is that it is supposed to be minimally invasive.
Small cuts.
Small cuts, right.
Exactly
But there are many complications that can actually occur when you're closing up these entry points, correct?
Right. That's correct. Some of the entry points issues that can happen are hernias that can occur, which can affect the patient's quality of life or even cause additional surgeries at the end.
Wow, so what started out as minimally invasive can become something that is dangerous.
That is correct.
So what is the solution that you guys have created here? I see that you have a very interesting demo on the desk here,
right.
And I'm excited to see you kind of show us how that works.
Okay, well, people can see it also in the background of the video, but basically Gordian Surgical is a medical device company based at the Trendline Group in the northern city of Misgav. Gordian created and patented an integrated port closure system for minimally invasive surgery. It's called the Troclose 1200. Okay? Today in the United States, there's over 3.5 million people that undergo minimally invasive or laparoscopic procedures in the United States.
That's a massive number.
That's a huge number, okay? Gordian Surgical has an answer. Basically what they've done is they've designed a product that the surgeon basically fires two anchors or sutures into the abdominal cavity at the beginning of the surgery, and then the surgeon performs his laparoscopic procedure or minimally invasive operation through the porthole here, and then when he's all finished, he basically ties the sutures when he's all finished to close up the internal incision. This is all internal, including the fascia, which is the muscle that overlays into the of the abdomen that prevents hernias.
Wow, so it seems like you guys have created something that is really going to change, the lives of many people who are undergoing these surgeries.
That's correct.
Thank you so much for coming in. One of the highlights of annual Independence Day celebrations is the awarding of the Israel Prize of Excellence, and this year 9 outstanding citizens are being honored. Drum roll, please. Let's hear them. The 2017 recipients are leading cancer researcher Yosef Yardeh, one of the most successful Jewish Olympians in history, Agnes Keleti, Uri Shaked for his landmark research in engineering, special education and learning difficulties researcher Malka Margalit, Yehuda Libis for his proficiency in Jewish mystical literature, classical pianist, conductor, and teacher Ari Vardi, and Nili Cohen for her prowess in the field of law. 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards were also presented. One goes to former paratrooper Tzvika Levi, who established an organization to help lone soldiers who come from more than 40 countries without their families to volunteer for service in the IDF. David Be'eri was recognized for his City of David Foundation in Jerusalem, which the judges describe as a site of heritage, education, and national and international tourism of the highest order. There are few things better than a good book, but there are also few things worse than a bad one. Well, One Israeli startup has created a new way to purchase books digitally that only charges you as much as you read. In other words, you won't have to pay full price for a book that you only read a few pages of. Joining me in the studio today is Yoav Loch, CEO and founder of Total Books. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, when I heard about this, it was very exciting to me because I read a lot and I know what it's like to start a book and just, it's not what you expected it to be, but you already purchased it, so you know you have to finish it. So tell us, how does Total Books work?
So the whole idea is that books, when they became digital, they somehow left behind the need to change the business model as well. And today, all over the world, you pay for a digital book more or less the same price as you pay for a printed book, which really doesn't make sense because there's no incremental cost to creating another copy and no incremental cost to bringing it to a new user.
Absolutely.
So what happens, there are lots of books in the world that are vying for readers, and lots of people in the world, they're interested in the quality which is inside the books, but they're all separated by a very high paywall. Like you said, you bought it, so you might as well finish it. Our idea is let's flatten it. Let's make the whole ebook system reading-centric. So when you pay, when value is delivered, when you read, when value is delivered, only then you pay. So the idea is all the books are available to anyone, download for free, no cost for downloading. We monitor what you read, and you pay only for the pages you actually read.
And this is actually great for students who have to buy big textbooks but only end up reading parts of those books as well, I imagine, right?
Then I think everyone says it's great for something. It's great for travel books, for business books, for cookbooks. It's great for fiction because, sometimes you buy a book and 10 pages or 10% into the book, you think, I've given this author enough of my life, time to go on.
I agree with that 100%. So how did you come up with the idea for this? This is amazing.
Well, it's my third startup. I did 2. I thought I'll never do another one. And then I just couldn't believe. I started reading ebooks and I thought something is amiss. It can't be. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll squeeze into my life another startup, which is what I'm doing now for the last 5 years or so.
Now, I understand that there's a project that you're also involved with. It's in Croatia. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the idea, once you move the ebook distribution system to our system, lots of things are possible. So what we did, we created the idea of a free reading zone. So this is an area where everyone within this area reads for free. When you leave the area, they have to pay, but as they are in the area, it can be a park, a cafe, a country. There's a sponsor that can be the government, it can be some advertisers. When you're in the zone, you read for free. Now we're trying to do something with rides and taxis. So when you enter a ride, once you're in the ride, you can read for free all along the ride, or like on the train or the plane.
I would absolutely love that. Just have to kind of avoid getting car sick, I guess. That's the only thing. You have to figure out the technology for that now too, right?
Well, I thought people don't get car sick anymore.
Well, that's true. That is changing. Well, this is honestly something that sounds incredible. And I still stick to reading, books themselves. I'm not yet to e-Kindle, but now, I might consider actually moving to electronic devices when it comes to reading. So
you'll find out that you read things you never imagined would interest you, but they actually do.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming in, and I wish you a lot of luck with this new venture.
Thank you very much.
IDC Summer Ulpan, open for everyone.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. We often hear about a new amazing eatery opening up somewhere in Israel, and we all know that the soul of every restaurant is usually its chef. So today's word is tabach, meaning chef. Sharing its root with the word mitbach, meaning kitchen, it's no wonder where the world's best tabachim or chefs spend most of their time. And in Israel, there are a lot of different tabachim across many amazing mitbachim in the area. Take Digo-san, for example. I bet you'll never guess how good Mexican-Korean fusion food could be, but an Israeli tabach did, and he was right. Just remember that regardless of where you end up eating your next meal, take a second to appreciate the flavor and thank your local tabach. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be partly cloudy with a low of 59 degrees or 15 degrees Celsius. And tomorrow is looking like it will be clear to partly cloudy with a high of 76 or 24 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.61 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at ILTV.tv. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for watching.